Hey everybody, Fantasy Philosophers. My name is Patrick. I'm here with my co-host Dustin. Very excited to bring you another episode of Breakout Candidates. We're still in the AFC. We're pivoting over to the East. And we're going to talk to you about some guys that we feel pretty confident will well outproduce their ADP. But with that being said, real quick, thank you to all the supporters, whether you just viewed, liked, commented, even if you disliked. I mean, I would rather you dislike than do neither. But if you do dislike, tell us what you disliked about it, because we're all about improvement. I mean, we're striving to improve each and every episode, and we really need your help with that. Um, you know, we don't take it as disrespect at all. We're all about constructive feedback. So anything that you can share with us that will make not only our episodes, but our channel overall better, we're all ears. So drop us a comment. But with that being said, let's dive into some more breakout candidates. And we're going to start with the Buffalo Bills. My breakout candidate, Zach Moss, rookie. Yep, on that rookie hype.
Sexy
Heard us
pick,
talk
though.
a lot about it. But Zach Moss going at pick 127, which is a mid 11th, running back 42. So let's kind of look back at the past real quick, because essentially what the organization is saying about Zach Moss is he's going to just plug right into that Frank Gore role, right? So last season, Frank Gore had 11 rushes inside the 5-yard line, which accounted for 61% of the team, opportunity from within that 5-yard line.
That sounds pretty good.
It sounds good, but he only scored in 2 of these 11 rushes. And in fact, these 11 rushes combined for a big fat 0 when it comes to yards.
Oh, man.
So as much as I'm a fan of Frank Gore and his career, that's terrible. That is terrible. So
We're allowed to say that because we gave him props on like multiple episodes before.
I've personally given Frank Gore at least 2 shout outs thus far. So Frank Gore, you got to give me a pass, man. You got to give me a pass on that one. But with that being said, what's also interesting to note is per footballoutsiders.com, the Bills actually ranked number 15 in run blocking last season. So not elite, but middle of the pack. So, seeing that Gore was just that unsuccessful down inside the 5, that's disappointing. But moving right along, let's talk more about Zach Moss. So Moss, I think a big criticism when it comes to Moss is about the competition that he played with in college. So let's just focus in on his final year, 2019. He did play against both Oregon and Arizona State, and he totaled 212 yards on 44 carries with 2 touchdowns, and also added 135 receiving yards on 7 receptions with another score. Moss had over 160 total yards in each of these games. So, that just goes to show you that even against higher quality competition, the man was able to produce.
Sure. I like that.
Talking even more so about that final college season for Zach Moss, in 13 games, he had 235 carries for 1,416 yards, which averaged out to exactly 6 yards per carry, 15 touchdowns. And this is really crazy. On 29 targets, he had 28 receptions for 388 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns.
That's pretty nice.
That is really nice. I did not think of Zach Moss as being relevant whatsoever in the pass game, but when you you catch 28 of 29 targets,
For
wow,
over
that's impressive.
and over 10 yards of reception as well.
Yes, yes. Thank you for mentioning that. That included it. You know, a lot of people don't know that about Zach Moss, but you can thank us later because now you know. According to Pro Football Focus, they had him ranked 8th in yards after contact and ranked 2nd in missed tackles forced in all of college football that season.
That's
That's
a pretty
very
sick
impressive.
combination.
Oh yeah,
Not only
very
are you
sick combination.
forcing missed tackles, but if they do try to tackle you, you're up there tops in the nation for yards after contact. I'll sign me up.
That just screams production,
Yeah.
production. And then looking at his college career as a whole, which he did play in college for 4 years, 712 carries for 4,067 rushing yards, 5.7 yards per carry for 38 rushing touchdowns. In addition, 66 receptions for 685 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. Although he's a rookie, and you've heard us kind of steer away from a lot of rookie hype in our prior episodes, this is going to be one of those exceptions, because hearing the organization come out and just emphasize over and over that he's taking over that Frank Gore role, and seeing the opportunity Frank Gore had last season, and then applying what Zach Moss brings to the table in terms of size, speed, to my surprise, pass catching ability. When you can get him in the middle of the 11th, easy breakout. I just can't imagine him not outproducing that at all. I could never fathom him not well exceeding a mid 11th ADP. Zach Moss, even though he's a rookie, that breakout is coming. Go get him.
Yeah, man. You talked about us kind of fading rookies. I just want to clarify, like, my take. I love me some rookie running backs. For me, though, like rookie receivers, rookie quarterbacks,
That's a good point.
I'm kind of lukewarm on, but I do like some rookie
Right.
running backs, especially one that, based on the stats that you gave, sounds like he averaged in his 4-year career, he averaged roughly 1,000 yards a season, 10 rushing touchdowns, and 200 receiving yards per season. Whew, that's nice. And he's going in, I think you said the 11th round. Is that right? I think you're muted, but you're nodding your head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mid 11th, running back 42. I'm going to break that habit, y'all. Hang in with me.
Yeah. So, mid 11th round plus all those red zone opportunities he's walking into. It sounds like in the 11th round, you might be getting a guy with 10 touchdown upside. Yes, please.
Yeah, and I mean, especially if Josh Allen, and this isn't a given, I'll go ahead and say it's not. But if Josh Allen does not continue to rush once they get down in the red zone or even within the 10 and 5 yard line, which if they're sold on him being the quarterback of the future, they probably should temper that back. And Zach Moss is the perfect person to take over those rushing attempts. So there you go.
What would be really interesting, and this will be some research for a later time, but I would be interested to know how many of those Josh Allen rushing touchdowns came after some failed Frank Gore inside the 5 rushing attempts. That's something to think about. I don't have those stats
Yeah,
on hand or even know how
we'll
we'd
have to
find
look
them,
into
but
that as well.
have to watch
Because
some film maybe.
as
But
much as I love Frank Gore, it's very obvious that he had opportunity and unfortunately
he couldn't
wasn't
capitalize.
able to produce. So who knows? Maybe that in fact is why Josh Allen more or less was forced into having so many rush attempts down down around that goal line.
But it'd be
You know,
interesting to
time will
look
tell.
into, for sure. Man, yeah, I like it though. I like Zach Moss. Like his film out of Utah. So not big on rookies, but that's a rookie running back I would definitely take if he fell to me there. Maybe even take him in the 10th. Depends on how the draft shakes out. But I definitely like me some Zach Moss for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So some good stats you brought up there, but my guy is actually a little bit different. I'm going with John Brown. Uh, you know, it surprised me when I saw where he's being drafted. So I've got him going as about the 100 and
Disrespectful.
criminally underrated, I think. Going at about wide overall 148. I have him at about wide receiver 70. Again, I pulled these uh, about a week or two ago. So to me, wide receiver 70? What? So he
Yeah,
played
that's
15 games
just
last season.
that's
Josh Allen
nonsense.
didn't play all of those games either, and he still finished as wide receiver 20. So I get it. He's not a wide receiver one, but if you're telling me that at pick 150, I can get a wide receiver 20, yeah, I'm going to take that all day, man. He showed that he's got some growing chemistry between himself and Allen. Allen throws a great deep ball, and John Brown kind of is known as like a deep threat, small, speedy guy, right? But that's where everybody's wrong because he actually runs the entire route tree very well. Matt Harmon's reception perception shows us that Brown is actually an elite all around separator. In his healthy seasons, he's posted numbers above the 90th percentile versus both man and zone. So he can beat man. We knew that because he's fast, he's quick, he's that fast twitch athlete. But he's also smart enough to sit down in the zone and beat that too, which is uh, phenomenal to have as a young rookie quarterback still trying to grow in the game. Which, make no mistakes about it, Josh Allen, I like his talent. The only reason he's drafted so high as a fantasy asset is because of the rushing upside. He still has some room to grow as a passer. I like his talent. I think he's going to continue to take steps forward, but he definitely has some room to grow. Having Diggs and Brown is going to help him there. And I'm actually not worried about Diggs taking away from Brown at all because I don't think anyone's really going to argue with me here. Diggs is the better talent. He's younger. He Diggs is considered the better talent. So I don't think any defense out there is going to say we need to put our number one corner on John Brown, which is what they were doing last year because you might be able to name Cole Beasley, but outside of that, you probably can't name another Bills pass catcher. So I think Diggs actually makes things easier for Brown. And while he might not see the same volume, I kind of expect John Brown to be a little bit more efficient. So I think he does more with the same amount or maybe even a little bit less targets. Now, it is a little bit concerning that the Bills are a run-heavy offense. It is what it is. But again, I've mentioned this before. When you're a run-heavy offense and you have burners like Diggs, like Brown, your play-action game is deadly, right? So I expect Brown, especially if you play in leagues where you get a bonus for big plays, I expect to see some big plays from John Brown because you have the play action. Even if they don't bite on the play action, most of the defense is going to be focused on Diggs. John Brown has shown us year in and year out that he can make even the best of defenders look silly. You go on Twitter, and one of the first things you find when you search John Brown is him making Stephon Gilmore look real silly on a double move. Okay, so we all know Stephon Gilmore is one of the better cornerbacks in the league. it is just one play. Everyone gets beat every now and then, but good Lord, John Brown got real open on against us, Stephon Gilmore. So for me, it's John Brown. I'll take a wide receiver 20. I think that's his floor this year. I only see him going up, to be honest. Now, I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 1. He's probably not going to finish wide receiver 5, but I think we can be looking at a wide receiver 15 here, maybe 17, more like it. So, I'll take him at wide receiver 70, 150th pick overall. I'll take that all day for sure. That'll help me win.
Yeah, I agree with that. I recognize Diggs' talent. However, I think I'm much lower on him than most. I don't really have a reason for it.
That's called the eye test, right?
Yeah,
So just for whatever
that's
reason,
it. That's really
he's
it.
not passing your eye test.
He is a good receiver. I just don't think Diggs is an elite receiver. I think a lot of people, when they think of Diggs, they think of that miracle catch against the Saints.
Sure.
And I remember I was talking with a buddy of mine, and we were talking about John Brown and Diggs, and they made a comment, but Diggs just has so much more speed than John Brown. What's interesting is when we look at workout metrics, Diggs, his 40-yard dash time was 4.46, whereas John Brown was 4.34.
Yeah, he's fast, man.
In fact, when it comes to 40-yard dash, speed score, burst score, agility score, and catch radius, John Brown is in a much higher percentile than Diggs in each of those, which is kind of surprising.
I mean, John Brown ran a 4.34 40. Like, that dude's fast.
Yep. And last point I'll make, but just to support you and show that I do agree, taking a look at Stephon Diggs and fantasy points per game last season, he ranked 24th. And guess what? John Brown ranked 22nd.
On a run heavy. Well, they were both on run heavy teams, but
they were. But going a step further, you would think that, although Josh Allen does need to make some improvement with his passing in particular, he at least has that rapport with John Brown built, and then when we're going through this unique off season,
that counts.
And Josh Allen has already come out and said, he's excited to have Diggs and excited to get to work with them. But he did include the fact that he's already established rapport with not only John Brown, but Cole Beasley. So it just doesn't seem like a situation where Diggs is going to come in and everyone else just vanishes. It just doesn't seem that way at all.
Yeah, I agree. And if you've never played football or maybe you have and you've never played quarterback or wide receiver, chemistry is really important. Really important.
Agreed. Well said. Well said. Yeah, John Brown. Don't sleep on him. Don't sleep on him.
Don't sleep on Zach Moss either.
Yep. Well said. Well said. Well, who we got next, Dustin?
I think we'll go the Dolphins next, man. Let's go down to Miami. Some tropical weather.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So for me, we'll kind of switch it up here. You went running back. I went wide receiver. I'm gonna go running back here for the Dolphins. And my running back is actually going to be Jordan Howard. I think a lot of people might have expected Matt Breida, but for me, it's I saw this abbreviation on Twitter the other day. JoHo. We got Rojo, now we got JoHo. Jordan Howard. I know that's stupid. I know, We
Actually, I'm just laughing because Jordan Howard somehow, some way, just gets overlooked
every
each
year,
and
man.
every season,
Yeah,
and even going back to his rookie season, the man has produced. So
I'm
I'm not
glad you
going to steal
said
the
that
show
though,
from you, but I'm just throwing it out there. Like, everyone's eyes are closed on Jordan Howard, apparently.
for sure. And I'm glad you said that because I'm going to get into some things that actually prove that point pretty well. So real quick, he's going 121 overall, RB 47. Again, this is about I pulled this data about 2 weeks ago, so he might have fallen, he might have risen. He's probably about the same though. People don't like Jordan Howard for whatever reason. But let's get into why he's criminally undervalued. Weeks 1 through 9 last year, he was the RB16. I know that's not super sexy or whatever, but he did that while sharing the backfield with Miles Sanders, who now is like a top 10 pick. So he's in Miami now, and he's sharing the backfield with Matt Breida. I like Matt Breida. I think he's very, very talented. He's got a hard time staying healthy, and I think at this point it's pretty clear that the Dolphins kind of have their 1-2 punch figured out, right? I think Jordan's going to get most of the first and second down work. Breida's going to come in and 2-minute drills, obvious passing situations. But I'm fine with that. And the reason I'm fine with that is because Jordan Howard has been pigeonholed into that type of back his entire career. There's this narrative out there that he's got stone hands, he can't catch, he's useless in the passing game. That's just flat out wrong. Um, Watch him in Philadelphia last year. One particular play, comes to mind where he runs a wheel route out of the shotgun. He runs a wheel route up the left side of the field, and Wentz hits him perfectly in stride. He catches the ball, strides in, uncovered. He was covered, but he beat the coverage, so it looked uncovered. And he scores about a 30-yard touchdown. The guy is serviceable. I'm not going to sit here and say he's James White or anything like that, but he is serviceable, and people sleep on his catching ability. Patrick, we were talking before the show, and you said he kind of reminds you of Derrick Henry in that regard. No one ever throws the ball to Derrick Henry, but every time you do, he's rattling off a 40-yard reception. Why don't we do it more?
Every
I feel like,
time.
yeah, I mean, and I kind of feel like Jordan Howard is a little bit like the poor man's Derrick Henry. Here's why. Top 20 active player in terms of total career yards. So out of all active players, he's in the top 20. He's only 25 years old. Now, he also ranks third in rushing yards accrued since 2016. So since 2016, he's been the third best rushing back in the league. Think about who we've got in the league right now. Barkley, Kamara, Elliott, all these guys who are going 40, 40 positional picks before him. And he's right there with them. So that right there is blowing my mind. And I get it. He's never been involved in the passing game, so that's what really limits him. Again, I'm not sure that Breida stays healthy. We know Kalen Ballage is poo-poo. So if
To
Matt
be
Breida
nice
goes,
about it.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. If Matt Breida goes down, are you really going to tell me that you're going to take Jordan Howard off the field on third down for Kalen Ballage? I don't want to assume rational coaching, but I sure as hell am not. Like, good Lord. After what we saw from Ballage last year, I'd be surprised if he gets much playing time at all from the Dolphins, barring catastrophic injuries to everyone in front of him. So the Dolphins also improved their offense, right, and their defense. So they spent 2 picks in the top 40 in this draft on offensive linemen. And I know one of them is, at least one of them is considered, a mauler, run blocking specialty type of offensive lineman. So that bodes well for him. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is the volume. If they're behind a lot, then he might not get as much work. But again, they made improvements on their defense. They signed Byron Jones. They drafted that cornerback whose name I can't pronounce, in Hidigbo something. That's kind of close. Um, they made improvements, so I expect their defense to take a step forward. You know, RB47, I'll take a chance on that all day, dude, based on his history.
Yeah, I mean, that's easy there. I agree. And I will say coming into the league, he had a little bit of a rough time those first 2 years when it came to the pass game.
Sure.
But I also feel that at that point in time, it just wasn't a role that he was necessarily preparing for or probably even working on in practice for that matter. But in 2018, 27 targets, 20 receptions.
Not
And
terrible.
then last year, it was a shortened season for him. He played 10 games, but 14 targets, 10 receptions. So it's it's not that he can't catch the ball. It's just not what he's specifically used for. And when you have back in Chicago, Tariq Cohen, or now in Miami, Matt Breida, that's what they're there for. But going back to what I said about Derrick Henry, I can't tell you how many times I see them finally dump off a little pass to Derrick Henry and the man makes a 30-yard gain. I mean, the defense, I'd be shocked if they're expecting a
They're
pass
not.
to Jordan Howard, you know what I mean? And just one step further, I'm real curious about how this organization views this season. And what I mean by that is, do they recognize that they're still a year or two away from being a contender? Or are they kidding themselves? I mean, I think that they are much better than they were last season. I'm a big Brian Flores
Me
fan.
too.
Great veteran quarterback, at least to start the year, and Fitz. They Byron Jones, amazing addition. Jeez, I mean, no one even throws his direction at this point. But Miami Dolphins on the come up. I'm just wondering, say that they're down. I don't even know if they would, let's say mid-season at least. If they're down, yeah, they have Breda, but wouldn't it be nice for Miami to get another top 5 pick in this upcoming draft?
Sure.
I mean,
I
let's not kid ourselves. They're not Super Bowl contenders this season.
Sure.
Sorry to all the Miami Dolphins fans. Y'all aren't. But y'all on the come up. So, I could see Jordan Howard just being a grinder each and every game, sprinkling in Matt Breida. He's good when he's on the field. His yards per carry is like up there, but he also gets banged up all the time. So
like every game.
I think the outlook for Howard is looking real nice, real nice. So I like that. I like that a
Word.
lot.
Nice. Who's your man? Who's your guy?
You ask like you don't know,
I'm
man.
pretty sure I know.
DVP,
Yeah.
Devontae Parker, yo. DVP. So he's going pick 79, which is the middle of the 7th round, wide receiver 27. And how this happened after a breakout year where I want to say PPR he finished top 15, give or take. First round draft capital. Everyone always thought the talent was there. I think Fitz magic unlocked that talent that we've been waiting for. And personally, I know easier said than done, especially when you have fans in the stands chanting for that rookie quarterback. But man, I would love to see the Dolphins hold out to the entire first year and leave Fitz out there. Either way, when we're talking about Devontae Parker going in the middle of the 7th round, coming off a season where he had 128 targets, he ranked number 5 at the wide receiver position in deep targets, 72 receptions. He was number 4 overall with 1,202 receiving yards, number 4 overall in completed air yards, number 3 overall in touchdowns, number 5 overall in total target distance, and number 8 overall at contested catch rate. I know a lot of people are real high on Preston Williams. The man had an ACL tear in week 9. And for a big guy that's 6'5", and I've said this in a previous episode, he's not pulling a Cooper Kupp. And with that being said, Cooper Kupp broke down midway through the season anyway. So either way you cut it, it's going to take more than the following season for someone to get back in form. And that essentially leaves Devontae Parker as the alpha wide receiver 1. And based on what he did last season, to grab a guy like that in the middle of the 7th it's a robbery or a gift, one of the two, however you want to look at it. But say Parker, if he's there in the 5th, I'm thinking about grabbing him. If he's still in there in the 6th, I'm absolutely taking him. Yeah, that's mind blowing to me. DVP, grab him. Breakout. It already happened, but it's about to happen again. So go get him.
Yeah. So I'll say this on it. I am one of those people who likes Preston Williams a lot. For Dynasty. But for redraft, I do prefer Devontae Parker, literally just because we've seen it with bigger guys. Allen Robinson, not nearly as big as Preston Williams, and he had a great year. Tore his ACL. His next year was down. He comes back the year after that, and he looks like Allen Robinson again. It takes these bigger guys a little bit more time. So while I do love me some Preston Williams, there's a lot of people out there who are much smarter and more well versed in film watching than I am, who had Preston Williams as the number 1 wide receiver in that class last year, and he went undrafted because of off the field issues. So the talent is there. The injury does concern me though. So for redraft, I'm with you. I think Parker over Williams this next year. But if you're in a dynasty league, you might even wait to see if Williams struggles a little bit in the first couple games and see if you can buy cheap. I know he's on my radar for that type of outlook. So I like the Dolphins offense in general, the way it's trending, the youth, the explosiveness, the athleticism. So Parker, especially with Fitzmagic back there, that dude's not afraid to throw the ball into coverage. So throw it up and let the athlete go get it, man. Let's see it.
I agree. And, as an organization that, let's be honest, they've been pretty for quite some time now.
Yeah, they've been bad.
Is there any reason to rush a young, talented, promising wide receiver in Preston Williams who recently turned 23 years old back on the field? No. I mean, could he line up there and play somewhat of a decoy? Sure, I guess. I don't see him being anything near what we should expect from Preston Williams moving forward this upcoming season. I think Devontae Parker is going to have a massive target share between him and Gesicki, assuming that they use Gesicki the way they claim they're going to use him, but
like the big
that's
slot.
a whole other story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you saw what he did last season, ladies and gentlemen. It's, what's real crazy is every single season it was like everyone was like, this is the year Devontae Parker, I'm gonna draft him,
I've been there.
overdraft him, and then the year he breaks out, everyone forgets about him. What is going on?
It's the curse of the 5th-year breakout, dude.
I mean, really, it's like people are drafting him later after breaking out, whereas they draft him earlier before he ever did anything worth mentioning. It's
No,
mind blowing.
for real though, it's because I guarantee you, it's because so many people have been burned by him in the past. Because every camp you would hear, "Ooh man, Devontae Parker, he looks real good. We're real excited about Devontae Parker. He's going to be a real contributor." And then the season, you get nothing, right? I've been there. I've been a Devontae Parker drafter before, and you get nothing until last year. So I think people are just a little skeptical about it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that to an extent, but when it comes to the 7th round and you've seen a guy do it once already, I'm not thinking twice.
Oh yeah, the 7th round, yeah, all day.
Smash.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, so let's move over to New England Patriots. Mine's gonna be pretty short and sweet for everybody. N'Keal Harry. Easy for me here. N'Keal Harry. I don't care if it's Cams or Stidham or Hoyer. I don't care. N'Keal Harry. He is currently going at pick 137, which is the middle of the 12th round, wide receiver 50. And let's just think, going into his rookie season, how high everyone was on him. I remember in dynasty leagues, he was essentially a consensus top 2 to 3 pick in rookie drafts, and he had an injury-plagued rookie season. Just limited opportunity due to those injuries, and everyone forgot about him. They just wrote him off. But if Bill Belichick drafts you in the 1st round, he has a purpose and he plans on using you. I can't think of any other logical explanation. Drafted the man in the 1st round, he's getting used. In fact, if Cam Newton, is the starting quarterback for the Patriots, one thing to note, Harry's stock probably goes up even more with Cam for the simple fact that Cam has a really high release point, and he tends to miss high on his incomplete passes, which for someone with the size and leaping ability as N'Keal Harry, that plays very well into his skill set. I mean, it's like flashback Kelvin Benjamin. You feel me? So, I really don't have anything else to say. I don't feel anything else needs to be said. When you got a guy that got just completely forgotten about because he had an injury-plagued rookie season, but he was drafted by Bill Belichick in the 1st round, has the size, has the skill set to be a dominant wide receiver 1 in the NFL, and you can in the middle of the 12th round, no brainer. N'Keal Harry, go get him.
Yeah, I actually second everything you say. I mean, looking at this roster, I'm not surprised that you picked N'Keal Harry. That's who I picked too. There's not really anyone else on this roster that I don't even think you could make a case for as far as like, what we're going for here. But I have a few extra things to say about N'Keal Harry. So you mentioned his injury. Last year he dealt with a sprained ankle, and I've mentioned this before. A sprained ankle is not always just something that you take a little rest off and in a week or two it's good to go. Sometimes it can really linger and it can be a nasty injury. I know from experience. So he dealt with that thing all year. And so he only played 7 games, a small sample size, but I like what I saw. 24 targets, 12 catches, 105 yards, 2 TDs, about 9 yards a catch. You know, for 7 games in your rookie season, you gotta remember, you know, your first couple of games as a rookie, you're learning what the heck's going on out there. You're getting used to NFL game speed. So yeah, he played 7 games, but he really probably only played like 3, like really, you know. And so I expect him to take a step forward next year. Now, on top of his receiving production, this surprised me a little bit. Five rushes for about 50 yards at 10 yards a clip. That's a little added bonus for me. Um, he looked good on those runs. He's elusive, slippery, if you will, for someone that big. You
It's
know,
that speed and that burst.
yeah, he's got a 90th percentile speed score, so that's nice as well. He's not gonna burn you deep all the time. He only runs a 4.5 340, but for being 6'2", 230, that's pretty sweet. Now all reports are that he's been working on his footwork over the offseason, which I love to hear, because he's obviously not going to play in the slot role. That's Edelman's role. So he's going to be an outside receiver, which means he needs to be able to release in order to work the sideline, which I think he's going to improve on. He showed some flashes last year. I expect to see more consistency this year because he was inconsistent last year. But to be honest, I expect that from someone in his situation. Going into the Patriots offense as a rookie, difficult.
It's tough.
Dealing with injuries, difficult. So yeah, he had some drops, he had some inconsistency, but when you're thinking about what you have to do and dealing with an injury, you're gonna have some concentration drops. It's gonna happen. Now he's got a big body. I mentioned his size, 6'2", 230. He's got great body control, and you kind of alluded to this, Patrick. You said you had reminiscent visions of Kelvin Benjamin, and me too, right? So Cam has shown that he can be very productive for those jump ball receivers, right? So let's take a look at a snapshot real quick. Kelvin Benjamin's rookie career: 145 targets. Rookie season. 145 targets, 73 receptions, 1,008 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Whoo, buddy! Let me tell you, if N'Keal Harry does that for me, drafting him that late, I am ecstatic. Now, one other thing.
Wait, Kelvin who?
Right, exactly. Yeah, already forgot. Now, one thing else. One other thing that really bodes well for him, I think. I guess technically it's 2 things, but I'm gonna lump them into one: snap share and target share. They kind of go hand in hand, right? So if we look at the last 5 weeks of the season, again, dude only played 7 games. So let's look at the last 5 weeks of the season. So starting week 15, week 13 and 14, not much to look at. So we're just going to kind of skip over them. Week 15, we see a huge jump to snap share, right? So in week 14, week 13, he averaged about 15, 20% snap share. Week 15, he goes up to 60. Week 16 and 17, he's at 50 and 55, roughly. These are rough numbers. We're rounding a little bit. Now, that correlates with his target share, right? So his target share goes from about 3% in week 14, jumps up to 15% in week 15. It dips a little bit back down on week 16 to 10%, but in week 17, his target share went to 25%. I like players that finish the season strong, especially coming off an injury and being a rookie. The strong finish that he had, the decent stat lines for the minimal amount of playing time that he got, you know, yeah, he was inconsistent, but I liked what I saw. And we're not talking about Tom Brady here, right? Cam is going to scramble. I think the starter is going to be Cam, if we haven't addressed that already. Cam's going to scramble, right? So it's not going to be as much about being in the right place at the right time all the time. There's going to be some backyard football And who better to have on your backyard football team than someone who's just physically dominant? So I agree with you 100%, maybe 110%. I like N'Keal Harry, and I'll be the first to admit that up until very recently, like really, really recently, like when I started looking into this right here, I was not a N'Keal Harry. Yeah, no thanks. But after doing some digging, I like the kid. I think he can really help you win a championship at that late of a draft price. I'll take a chance on him all day, especially if you're trying to go, I know zero wide receivers kind of sexy right now. So if that's your draft strategy, like you've got to hit those late round upside guys, and this is a must grab if that's your strategy, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, and just real quick, like let's not forget that New England system, just in general,
It's difficult.
very very difficult to learn. So for a rookie wide receiver to come into New England and just dominate, I just can't imagine. So he has a full year under his belt, regardless of games played, where he's had the opportunity to learn the system. And I'm just going to mention this. It's not the end all be all. I'll be the first to say it, but it's interesting. So, again, my go to playerprofiler.com. Essentially, when you pull up a player on their website, they find a best comparable for that player. And essentially, it aggregates physical attributes, workout metrics, college and pro productivity, and efficiency to find that player's most similar NFL peer. For N'Keal Harry, best comparable is Allen Robinson.
Be still, my heart.
Not the end all be all, but that says enough for me. Even before mentioning that he's compared that closely to Allen Robinson, I'm already in. But after hearing that, it's just the cherry on top.
I love Allen Robinson.
Oh
I
yeah,
have him in
how can you not?
every
How can you
dynasty
not?
league that I'm in, every single one.
Yeah, see that. I confirm that. But yeah, N'Keal Harry, go get this man.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I think that just leaves us the Jets, yeah?
It does.
Yeah. Well, I'll get us going there because this is a guy, for me, I've been a supporter of this guy since he was a rookie, actually. I've been drafting him for years. And this is another guy that just never gets any respect. He's a great football player, though, Mr. Jameson Louder with Crowder. Going at about at overall 140, wide receiver 68 as what I've got here for his ADP. But last year, remember the Jets last year? Darnold had mono. We were, talking about ghosts, and it was just a terrible offensive season. Dude finished wide receiver 26. So I think you might be muted, Patrick.
Accomplishing that with Adam Gase as your coach is even more impressive.
Agreed. So you got backup quarterbacks plus Adam Gase effect, and you still got a wide receiver 26 finish. I love it. So real quick, I want to ask you, Patrick, do you know who the other New York Jets wide receivers are right now?
I do. I bet most don't, but I do.
Okay.
Rashard Perriman, Denzel Mims.
Yeah. There's also Quincy Enunwa and Josh Doxson. They carry some name value.
I threw Josh Doxson out the window already. I think Enunwa is injured, isn't he?
He had I believe it was a spinal injury last year. So. But I just threw them in there because they have a little bit of name value. But my point is, that's your wide receiver core. Now, Jamison Crowder last year, playing mostly with Sam Darnold, also with some backups, had more targets than Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, DJ Shark, Kenny Galladay, just to name a few. Okay, so he had
Damn.
122 targets last year. He is Darnold's safety blanket. Those 122 targets led to 78 receptions, 833 yards. What really impresses me is the 6 TDs, because you think of Jamison Crowder, and for me at least, I think of that small slot guy, water bug type of player, and I'm not really expecting him to score a ton of TDs. So 6 TDs on top of what he's got here is impressive to me. Now, if Darnold stays healthy all year, I expect all of these numbers to go up, every single one of them. So for me, going at pick 140, wide receiver 70-ish, I'm going to take Jamison Crowder if he's fallen that far, because, I mean, how do you pass up 130 targets? How do
You don't.
Yeah. And it's like guaranteed opportunity, and you don't find that late. And I just don't see anyone on that roster who is going to compete for more targets. Who's going to take away targets from this man? I don't think anybody. There's not a single other player on that wide receiver list that is the same type of receiver that he is, right? Because really, you say you play wide receiver, but are you an X wide receiver or are you a slot wide receiver, right? So the guys that they have out there, Perriman, Enunwa, Mims, I don't think they run the same type of routes as well as Crowder does. So I just don't see any competition for him. I think he's, healthy. He's 130 targets, easy.
Yeah, I agree. And I have a little bit of a sick stomach just because I thought I was being sneaky in our current dynasty draft, and I thought I was gonna take him late, and sure enough, someone took him a few picks before me, and it hurt a little bit, but that's okay. But yeah, in PPR leagues especially, he's getting so overlooked. I, it makes no sense. Like, I feel stupid for waiting as long as I did. So learn from my mistake. The man is gonna get target upon target upon target. I mean, I believe there was a game last season where he had like 15 or more targets, which is crazy. But yeah, Brashad Perriman, he had those nice 2 to 3 games when Godwin and Evans were hurt last year. He might still have speed, but I'm not sold on him. I love Denzel Mims, but I just fucking hate that he went to the Jets with Adam Gase.
On a
So
COVID offseason, too.
exactly. But yeah, Jamison Crowder, especially in PPR leagues, I mean, it's it the fact that you're getting a guy with that type of volume as late as you are, it makes no sense, but just take advantage. I agree 100%.
Yeah, for sure, man. Jamison Crowder. Louder with Crowder.
Crowder, go get him. So my breakout candidate, New York Jets.
Who you got?
And I already know this person left a very bad taste in many people's mouths, including myself last season, but it is Chris Herndon.
Ooh, got a tight end? Man, I thought I was a tight end guy.
I know, right? I know. I had to steal one from you, bro. So, with that being said, there's no reason for me to spend any more time talking about last season. Chris Herndon, I think, appeared in one game. So, let's throw that away. All right. Going back to 2018, and I'm going to make this real simple and easy for everyone. Chris Herndon, currently going pick 172, early 15th round, tight end 22. 22.
It's a starting tight end.
Okay. So based on his production in 2018, I'm just going to tell you what he ranked at the tight end position in certain categories. And remember, he's going as tight end 22. Air yards, ranked 13th. Total target distance, 12th. Red zone receptions, 10th. Yards per reception, 9th. Fantasy points per pass route, 9th. Fantasy points per target, 8th. Touchdowns, 8th. Yards per target, 7th. Average target distance, 5th. And last, but certainly not least, true catch rate, ranked number 1 overall in 2018.
You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like a top 10 tight end.
Breakout. Yes. The guy, I get it. He burned me last season too, and I'm pissed still to this day. But put that aside, recognize that he had all of 2019 to get whatever he was dealing with behind him. He's coming in fresh. And the man was putting up stats his rookie season. I mean, I can remember I'll never forget, and hopefully some of the viewers saw this. I'll never forget when he was coming across the middle. He was near the end zone, and this man coming across the middle, knowing he's about to get hammered, reaches out with one hand and makes a one-hand snag catch and just takes a big hit. That was impressive, and that's what he did his rookie season. And when you can get a guy that's already well outproduced, I mean, every category I mentioned, the worst ranking he had was 13th, and he's going as tight end 22nd in the 15th round. That's a no-brainer.
Below his floor. Yeah.
Breakout. Go get him. Like, don't overthink this one. I get it. If you had him last year, you probably hate him, but give him another chance, and it's very likely that you will love him. Chris Herndon, breakout.
Yeah, I was also in love with Chris Herndon. Managed to stay away from him in redraft last year, so he didn't burn me. Although I can't remember who I ended up with a bunch. They burned me too. I got burned by tight end last year too. It happened.
It happens
whatever.
To everybody.
Yeah, it just happens. But I do like Chris Herndon. Literally, the only thing that makes me shy away from him at all is Adam Gase.
I agree. I mean, I've said it in multiple of our episodes. Adam Gase is practically fantasy death to me. But at the end of the day, someone has got to produce.
Someone's got to catch passes.
Somebody has to.
Jamison Crowder can't catch them all.
And exactly. I'm not sold on Perriman.
Me neither.
Maybe he'll surprise me, but I'm not sold there at all. I think he just got lucky and whatever. Mims, I like Mims.
I like Mims too, but
why did he have to go to the Jets?
Next year is more of a Mims year for me, I think.
Crowder, he's going to get his, but when it comes to that, safety blanket, those red zone targets, and potentially just completely an afterthought for opposing defenses, at least like the first few games, I can't imagine Herndon not finishing as a top 15 tight end, and that's being conservative.
For sure.
So when you can get him at tight end 22, do yourself a favor. Even if you have a better tight end in front of him, get him as a backup, because he could very well, end up outproducing that better tight end that you drafted before him.
Yeah, and maybe one of those tight ends ends up being some trade bait. So,
Bingo.
Always got to be making trades. I know redraft is a bit of a different beast if you're used to playing Dynasty, but should always still be on the lookout for trades.
Yeah,
By the way,
and
redraft players trade more.
yeah, and a quick add-on, there are win-win trades. There really are, because it just seems like the majority of redraft players think that someone has to win and someone has to lose in a trade. No. If are stacked at running back and someone else is stacked at wide receiver and you're weak, but vice versa, you're weak in that area, you can find win-wins. You
Yeah,
can.
mutually beneficial.
Exactly. So don't be scared. Throw out some trade offers. Unless you're someone that doesn't care about winning, if you're watching this video, I
Then
can't
you care
imagine that's
about
the
winning.
case,
Yeah.
but we don't play just to make the playoffs. We play to win. There's always gonna be a win-win trade that can be made. You just have to find the right team that needs the right kind of help that you have excess of, and vice versa. Engage in that conversation. Don't just send them a low ball offer. Don't do that shit, because that'll ruin everything. Either send them something that you feel, if you were in their shoes, you would absolutely accept, or what's probably better, assuming you know the person prior to sending the trade, whether it's a DM through social media, through the fantasy platform, a call, a text, just let it be known, hey, I'm looking to make a trade, I want an upgrade in this position, I feel I'm really strong here, I looked at your team, it looked like we could possibly work something out, what are your thoughts? And just get that going. And there's win-wins out there. There really are. I'm tired of hearing this, well, I don't trade because you know I'm either gonna win and no one's gonna want to trade with me again, or I'm gonna lose and hate myself. No, that's you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. So find those win-wins.
Definitely. Start the conversation and get it done. Or don't, but at least leave the channel open. That's the key
Absolutely.
in my book is got to have an open channel
I agree.
for sure. Well, man, we kind of flew through that one, probably because this is just so much dang fun. But that's the AFC East, man. It's done. We only got the AFC South and the AFC West left. So we'll get those coming at you guys, shortly. Other than that, though, you know, we advertised in the previous episode. I'm gonna advertise it again. Uh, let us know. Let us know what you guys want to hear. If you're listening to this, obviously you care about winning. What can we look into? What can we research? What can we debate that's going to help you win a championship? We've got some ideas for some upcoming episodes. We'd like to do maybe a little bit of a breakdown on our IDP dynasty draft we're both in. Maybe take a look at some other dynasty rosters in different dynasty leagues and break those down. Those are some ideas that we have, but absolutely would love to get some insight from anyone who's viewing on what you want to hear, what you want to see. Let us know, and fantasy football related, and we will look into it, and we will get you some answers, some stats, some heated debate, whatever the case may be. But let us know. Drop us a comment. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Fantasy Philoso 1, FPS underscore Patrick, FPS underscore Dustin. Follow us on Twitter. Follow our YouTube channel. We just strive to put out content that hopefully gets you thinking about players and strategy in a little bit of a different way, and considering maybe zigging when some other people are zagging. So that's what fantasy football is all about. We're here to win championships. We're not here to just make the playoffs, like Patrick said. So until next time, I'm Dustin. He's Patrick. We're the Fantasy Philosophers. Y'all have a good night, and we're out.
Peace.